When people first open a credit report, it often looks confusing because it contains unfamiliar terms, codes, and lists of accounts that appear difficult to interpret. But the reality is that every credit report follows a structured format that organizes financial history in a way lenders can quickly analyze. The topic of this lesson, understanding the structure of a credit profile, is about learning how to read that structure so the report becomes easier to interpret instead of overwhelming. A credit profile is essentially a recorded timeline of financial behavior, and the credit report organizes that timeline into several sections that together form the complete picture lenders review when evaluating risk. The first section most reports display contains identifying information such as name variations, current and past addresses, and sometimes employment details. This information does not directly influence credit scores, but it helps credit bureaus match financial accounts to the correct individual. When lenders review a credit report, they often glance at this section first to confirm the report belongs to the correct applicant. The next section of the report contains the most important information in the entire document, which is the list of credit accounts often referred to as trade lines. Each trade line represents a financial relationship between a consumer and a lender. Within each trade line, the report records details such as when the account was opened, what type of credit it represents, the credit limit or original loan amount, the current balance reported, and the payment history connected to that account. Payment history is one of the most important components of a credit profile because it shows whether obligations have been paid on time. Each month that a payment is made on schedule becomes another positive data point in the report's timeline. Over time, these updates create a detailed record that lenders can interpret when evaluating reliability. Another element of trade lines that lenders examine is credit utilization, which compares balances to available credit limits on revolving accounts. High utilization may indicate financial pressure, while lower balances relative to limits often signal responsible credit management. The age of accounts is also important because older accounts demonstrate longer experience with credit relationships. Lenders often view long-standing accounts as a sign of stability because they show that credit has been managed over extended periods of time. Beyond trade lines, the credit report usually contains a section listing credit inquiries. Inquiries appear when a lender reviews the credit report as part of an application for credit. While inquiries generally have less influence than payment history or utilization, they still provide context about how frequently new credit is being sought. A large number of recent inquiries may indicate that a person is actively searching for new credit, which lenders sometimes interpret cautiously. Some credit reports also include collection accounts or public record information that reflects past financial difficulties. These items may appear when debts have been transferred to collection agencies or when certain legal events related to debt have occurred. While these entries can affect the credit profile, they represent only one part of the overall financial history recorded in the report. When all of these sections are viewed together, the credit report becomes easier to understand because it functions like a structured timeline of financial activity. Lenders reading the report are not focusing on one isolated item, but instead examining patterns that develop across time. They may look for consistent payment behavior, balanced use of available credit, and evidence that financial obligations have been managed responsibly. Understanding the structure of the report allows consumers to recognize these same patterns when reviewing their own profiles. Instead of reacting emotionally to the presence of a negative account, the consumer begins to see how each entry fits into the broader financial narrative. Within the credit strategy framework, this understanding is important because it shifts the focus from reacting to individual items toward analyzing the entire credit profile. When someone learns how the report is structured, the document becomes far less intimidating. It becomes possible to see how each section contributes to the overall interpretation lenders make when reviewing the file. Over time, this knowledge allows individuals to approach their credit reports with a more analytical mindset because they understand how financial behavior is being recorded and evaluated. The report stops being a confusing list of numbers and instead becomes a readable history of how credit has been used across months and years. Once that structure is understood, the credit profile begins to make sense, and understanding that structure is the first step toward interpreting the patterns lenders rely on when making credit decisions.